I really wanted to be surprised. Hi everybody, welcome to the Big Damn Channel. Chris here, White Balance Be Damned, and I'm here to briefly talk about the Spider-Man No Way Home teaser trailer that dropped in the early hours of UK time, Tuesday morning. Why am I talking about it in a video and not on this week's episode? Well, we recorded this week's episode yesterday, and our main topic of the episode is about the leak of this trailer, or a screen grab of a screen capture of a filming of a phone, of a filming of a phone, of a filming of a phone, with a landscape trailer playing on a portrait screen. Chucky's got nothing to do with this story, by the way. He should do. And we even say in the episode, as you'll find out this Thursday and Friday here on YouTube, that we talk a lot about the leak, we talk a lot about speculative story stuff, which isn't necessarily ruined by the trailer itself. The trailer doesn't stop any of the things we talk about from being relevant. Listen to the episode, you'll understand. But it's still annoying because, like, we say in the episode multiple times the trailer's going to drop while we're recording this. And we had, like, a feed up on my monitor refreshing it the whole time we're recording the episode, and it didn't. And then I have a whole day, and I finish editing it, and I upload it, and I go to town, and I meet a friend, and I go to bed. And then I wake up this morning, and the fucking trailer's here. So these are my initial thoughts on the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. I am so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. One thing I've really wanted from MCU Spidey is friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He keeps saying, like, but I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I'm like, I've seen you be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for like 10 collective minutes of footage in Spider-Man Homecoming. You've mostly been on cosmic adventures or big team-ups. Part of the charm of Spider-Man for me as a fan, and again, he's my boy, he's my favourite superhero. Part of the charm for Spidey for me, a very big part, is that he is ground level, is the juggling of like real life problems and superhero problems at the same time. And I just feel like we've not really had that with this Peter Parker, which is a shame. Not because I'm projecting what movie I'd rather have, per se, onto the MCU Peter, but it's a shame because that would make him unique in the MCU, considering all of the heroes in the MCU are either powerful beings that are separate from, like, our plane of existence or responsibilities or reality, or are superheroes with known secret identities who are government funded or Stark Industries funded or S.H.I.E.L.D. approved. Whereas Peter would be the odd one out in the films if he were the kid from Queens fighting crime in New York in, sure, a hand-me-down Stark suit, but, like, you know, like a kid with a secret identity and a girlfriend and a best mate and that level of, you know, the secret identity story is missing in the MCU. And I know it's tried, but it's a big part of why Spider-Man is such a beloved character. So when all the rumors started to come out that this would be a multiversal, everything is going to smash together storyline, I was like, do we have to go that route? Now, I'm not against Spider-Man multiversal stories. I adore Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as far as movies go. And Sony adored how much money and Oscar praise it got so much that they've crammed it into this one. And I love the Spider-Verse comic book series. I love any time Spidey teams up with Doctor Strange, because you always have some really fun stories there. I just, you know, if you're watching me talk about it, chances are you've already watched the trailer. So I'm not just going to repeat everything that I see, but I'll touch on a few things that make me happy and a few things that make me sad. Firstly, I'm really upset that we are skipping over the world-shaking story that is Peter's identity being revealed to the world. It's there. The first, like, minute of the trailer is all about it, and it's the motivation for the plot of the film. But that's a film in itself? Surely that's a film in itself. However, this New York haven't spent much time with this Spider-Man, at least on screen, so you don't get that inspirational sort of vibe that New York would rally behind Spider-Man and be like, no, leave the kid alone, he's done good for everybody. We also have never seen Spider-Man be enough of a public menace, so why is New York mad that he's Spider-Man? Like, he's one of the people who saved the world. It just, it's relying, what this film is relying on a lot of is you to have pre-established knowledge of the wider Spider-Man, like, status quo, and just accept that this is like that too. Remember how, the 2017 Justice League movie, it just expected you to forget Batman v Superman, even though the film was based around its plot, and just remember in your head that, no, Batman's a little bit quippy and fights wind up exploding penguins, and Superman's actually, you know, like the Boy Scout, and even though the previous films in that series were completely the opposite, they expect you, the audience, to just assume that's the status quo, and accept that, oh, you're 3 movies into the series, yeah, forget the previous 2, we're doing it like this now. And this is sort of like that. It's expecting you to remember what Spider-Man's position is and how New York feels about him, or how most New York feels about him, in other media, even though we've not seen it in this one. Like, think about the times where Spidey has interacted with New Yorkers in the MCU. Hey, Spidey, Spider-Man for YouTube, do a flip. They like him, so why would the whole world be mad at him? Especially when he saved, like, he's part of the reason why they were all saved from Thanos. Thing I like, MJ and Peter's relationship is very sweet, and I like the weird quirkiness of it all. I love the fact that that is maintained, and it's interesting that we've had 3 Spider-Men, live-action Spider-Men in cinema, and all 3 of them have at some point during the production of their movies been in a relationship in real life with the co-star who is the love interest of the character. Like, Maguire and Dunst were a thing briefly. Garfield and Stone were a thing throughout most of the production of the 2 movies, which shows because the chemistry is fire in those 2 films. And then now we know that Zendaya and Tom Holland are together, and you can see it in the film, whether they were together at the time or whether like the relationship was blossoming at the time. So chemistry between them is wonderful. We don't get to see much of Ned in this, but like I love him and Jacob Batalon. We get to see Marissa Tomei as Aunt May briefly, and Happy Hogan. We see that Spidey's life, now that his identity's been exposed, is affecting the people around him. Good point, because what story they're leaning into here is the comic book Civil War, Back in Black, and One More Day stories, and One Moment in Time, which I'll explain now really briefly. So in the comic book version of Civil War, Spider-Man reveals his identity to the world as part of Tony Stark's push for people to sign up to the Superhuman Registration Act, which results in, yes, everyone who's a superhero felt unsure about it, unless they're firmly on Cap's side, go like, okay, we're going to help out and join in. He did that, then we'll risk our lives as well to like do the right thing. So, yay. But why am I noticing my fringe now? That's really annoying. But the problem is, after Civil War goes kaput and Captain America dies, America's thrown into chaos, especially around the Superhuman Registration Act, and Peter Parker has seeded from Tony Stark's side of the argument. He, Aunt May, and Mary Jane are on the run because everyone knows who he is, and there are people coming to get him. It all culminates in an assassination attempt organised by the Kingpin from within jail. Honestly, one of the best issues of Amazing Spider-Man I've ever read, and it's still my favourite. It's in the Back in Black trade paperback. Go pick it up, or get Marvel Unlimited on your app or whatever. I'm going to be quiet. Aunt May is shot in an assassination attempt on Peter's life. And so Peter and Mary Jane shepherd her from hospital to hospital under different pseudonyms, but they're running out of cash, they're running out of funds, and they don't know what they're going to do. And she's going to die. And here's the thing. MJ even brings it up, like, as delicately as she can. She's, like, 587 years old. Like, maybe this is it. Like, she can't fight anymore. She can't fight through this. Maybe now we have to just let her go. And Peter is just like, he'll never do it. He will not do it because it's a mirroring of the guilt he feels of Uncle Ben's death way back when he began. May is in danger. May is going to die because of him, as far as he's concerned. So he will fight till the very end. And that passion, that panic, calls out into the universe, and Mephisto, Marvel's equivalents to Satan, or one of them, is like, hey, I'll make you a deal. What follows is a storyline people absolutely hate, and it's got a fascinating behind-the-scenes story to it about writers leaving and rejecting the concept, and Joe Quesada filling in for J. Michael Straczynski, but JMS is still credited, and you can tell that the writing style is different in the book. It's really weird, but the point is, Mephisto makes a deal where Aunt May can live in exchange for Peter and Mary Jane's marriage. So not them getting divorced, the joy of that marriage being erased from time. And their souls crying out for all eternity because they know that something is wrong. Something has been taken from them, but they don't know what. And it's a very controversial storyline. People hate it because ultimately it happens after Mary Jane like speaks to Mephisto as well, and also says, make it so that everyone forgets he's Spider-Man. Like, do that for him. If he's gonna have a life without me, at least let him have a life. And Mephisto's like, fair enough. All right, that's small potatoes for me. Sure. And then the universe resets to Brand New Day, which is still controversial because One More Day is not great and there's really terrible things around it in its production. But Brand New Day gave us like this new wave of Spider-Man writers, the Spider-Man think tank, brand new stories, brand new villains, different takes on everything. But later on, some of those writers and the Spidey think tank had to explain in the continuity, because Marvel's never had a big continuity reboot, really. In the continuity, how do we explain about why all the adventures happened with Peter and Mary Jane, but they weren't married anymore? How do we explain that? So a story was written called One Moment in Time, which explains the now canon reason why they didn't get married. And I won't spoil it because there's some really interesting twists in there, but part of it is that Spider-Man still reveals his secret identity to the world in Civil War, and it gets fixed by Doctor Strange. Long-winded way of me basically saying this movie is adapting, in part, One Moment in Time. The thing about One Moment in Time and One More Day that work, even though people will argue that the latter doesn't at all, is the emotional investment of Peter and Mary Jane sacrificing true love to save a life. That does not translate over to this, which is Peter getting his name changed and then everything goes into chaos. It's using the idea, but like the emotional weight of the comic book version of the story is sort of not there. So again, I'm less excited. Now maybe that's just because I'm attached to that material. But like if you're going to use that material, maybe like use stuff that has emotional resonance. I'm not saying obviously get them married. They're like 16 in this universe, but you see what I'm saying. Anyway, rant over. Grumpy Wong is life, and I understand and feel him complicitly. What a wonderful, wonderful character, and I'm so glad we're getting more Wong in the films. I'm looking forward to Shang-Chi since they've confirmed that he is in it. So the internet keeps thinking they've seen Charlie Cox as Daredevil. We know he's involved in the production, but whether he's in the final cut, I don't know. I doubt, however, it's the dude slamming papers on the desk in front of Peter, because that's not a Matt Murdock move when talking to a child. So no. Doctor Strange and Spider-Man's relationship is great. I've always enjoyed when those two team up. You can have a lot of fun with those two characters in a story because Strange deals in the multiverse and the weird stuff, and Peter doesn't, so he's so out of his depth when it comes to that, and you get some really fun juxtaposition and comedy, and it's a great kind of buddy cop movie situation with these two very wildly different worlds. And I think Cumberbatch and Holland have a nice chemistry. We saw it in Infinity War, and we get to see more of it in this trailer. It's definitely a thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. See, there are things I like. Yes, I saw the Electro tease with the yellow lightning. Yes, I spotted the pumpkin bomb and heard the laughter. And then we obviously get a big old stinky shot of partially de-aged Alfred Molina at the end saying hi to Peter. And I'm like, how's he going to know who he is? Again, this is the movie expecting you, the punter, to know why this is significant. But I would love to hear the opinion of someone who's maybe got kids or younger siblings who haven't watched the Sam Raimi movies and have watched just, the Tom Holland MCU stuff, and what their reaction to that last moment is. Because I imagine they're like,
"Hello, Peter." Who?
I don't know. I wish I had a more positive take on this for you all. I really do. I just I've said it on the podcast, but I'll say it here for those who haven't caught it. It stinks of Spider-Verse worked, let's do that. But Spider-Verse worked not because of the Spider-Men. It worked because mostly because Lord and Miller were left to do what they wanted, but also because it was about Miles Morales, his story, his life, his upbringing, his experiences, his family. It was about Miles having an adventure with multiversal Spider-Man. It wasn't just because it had multiversal Spider-Man in it. That's not why it was exciting. So the fact that we're getting white Spider-Verse is it's a little bit tone deaf. That being said, we don't see Maguire or Garfield in the trailer. The internet keeps expecting them to show up, and if they never did, that would be kind of hilarious. And also, Doctor Strange seems to be playing a heavy part in this movie. Doctor Strange's next movie, Multiverse of Madness, which this is obviously going to lead to, is directed by Sam Raimi, who directed the original Spider-Man trilogy. So there's obviously some consultation. I can imagine Sam Raimi helped an awful lot with John Watts with this one, considering his characters are returning. There might be something amazing here. I don't know, and I wish I was more excited. But what about you? Tell me down in the comments below. Are you hyped for this? What moments got you happy? What moments made you go, I don't understand it? And is this so painfully transparently Sony with the Spider-Verse copying? Tell me if I'm going insane. Let me know down below. I will see you in the podcast out this Thursday on Spotify and Apple, and out on Friday here on the YouTubes. Ta-ra.